Hello and welcome to Worldwide Camera Exchange. My name is Jonathan Harris. Today I'm going to run through the checks you need to make if you're buying a lens for the Mamiya 6 or the Mamiya 7 camera. Now what I have here is a 150mm for the Mamiya 7, but the checks I'm going to describe are common for all the Mamiya 7 lenses and all the Mamiya 6 lenses. They've been discontinued for a while. These lenses haven't been made for certainly 15 years, so it's very important to know what you're looking for, and it's very important to know what to check for to avoid buying something that's been abused or misused or something that just doesn't work. So I'm going to describe four main areas you need to focus on when buying a lens. You need to look at the cosmetics, you need to look at the mechanics, the optics and the electronics. So first of all, let's look at the cosmetics. You found a lens online that's just been delivered, or you're going to look at a lens in a dealer's. What do you look for? Well, first of all, I'll take the lens caps off. A lot of this is quite common sense stuff, and just have a look around the filter rim. Make sure there are no dings there. It's very easy to dent a filter rim if a camera's been thrown on your shoulder and not being used that carefully. They do get knocked quite easily. So check the filter rim. Check around the bayonet here where it's been mounted on the camera. Check out the little electronic contacts. You can see how much it's been on and off the camera, or how much wear there is there. And also on this little cam here, and the lever here which actuates the aperture inside, you can see how much use the lens has had by how much metal is showing through, how much the black has worn away. Also look at the lettering. Well, when these are brand new, they're very bright white and yellow. If they've had a lot of use, it'll look a lot duller, a lot more tarnished. It'll look quite tired. If a lens looks tired but is okay in other respects, that's probably fine. But if a lens looks tired and has dings here, there and everywhere, I would probably avoid it. Now, they are designed to be used professionally, they are designed to be used heavily, but you do still want to avoid stuff that's been misused. Once you're happy that the cosmetics are clean, I'd move on to the mechanics. Now, the reason I've chosen this particular lens is there is an issue with this lens that a lot of Mamiya lenses suffer from. If they haven't been used for a long time, the mechanism inside, particularly the focusing, can get very dry. And while it feels very smooth, it'll squeak. I don't know if you can hear that. That's a really common problem with Mamiya 6 and Mamiya 7 lenses. Not an issue in itself, but it is a sign it needs to be serviced. Now, this is an issue that's being caused through lack of use rather than overuse. So if you come across a squeak like that, just send it off to a good repairer. They can service it. Not an issue, although the cost might well be £100 or £120. So obviously if you're negotiating to buy, that's significant. Also look at the aperture when you're checking over the mechanics. You want to make sure that the aperture closes down and forms a symmetrical shape. It isn't a circular aperture because it's only got a restricted number of blades. So it'd be octagonal or hexagonal aperture depending upon the lens you're looking at, but the shape does need to be symmetrical. Now, these lenses have built-in shutters, so it's difficult to see through them to check the aperture. The way around that is to put it onto a camera, open the dark slide, wind the camera on, open the back of the camera. You can then set the camera on B and actually look through the camera while the camera is set on B, and you'll be able to see the aperture shut down. Obviously, make sure it is on 22. Open the camera up on B, look through the camera and look through the lens, and you'll be able to see whether or not it's forming a symmetrical shape. We have had a few cases with these Mamiya lenses where one of the aperture blades has come out of alignment, so you can see one of the aperture blades isn't closing down fully, and when you look, that's really quite apparent. You really can't miss it. So that's the mechanics. The next thing I'll do is look at the optics. Now again, with it on the camera, you can hold it up to the light, again on maximum aperture, so on f4.5 in this case. Just hold it up to the light and look through the lens. If you can, look towards a bright source of light. You want to keep your eye open for misting or for fungus or anything nasty inside. If you see fungus, which is sort of spidery web effect inside, walk away. Or if you see little spots with spidery legs coming out of the little spots, that's fungus too. Just walk away. It's very difficult to get fixed. and it's very, very difficult to get rid of. Misting as well. If you see misting inside, when you hold it up to a bright light, again, that's a problem. A little bit of dust, that's inevitable in most lenses. A few spots, not the end of the world. A lot of dust, yeah, that can be an issue. The other way you can check it is just with a bright, maybe a mobile phone torch, and just shine it into the lens. Again, you're looking at misting or you're looking at funny growth inside, but you will need to check it on both sides, because again, you've got the shutter halfway through. So when the shutter's closed, you can't see all the way through the lens. So check the front, check the back, and just make sure there's nothing nasty inside. What I would do then is just look at the front and rear element itself, and that really ought to be clear of scratches and clear of little sort of bright coating marks. If there are one or two minor marks on the front element, I wouldn't worry too much about that. They very rarely affect performance. In fact, they never affect performance. So a couple of little scratches, not an issue, but it does dramatically affect price. So if you see scratches on the front, the price should be reduced accordingly. Regarding the optics, the other thing to check is viewfinders. Now, this is the 45mm lens. The 45mm lens, the 65mm lens, and the 210mm lens on the Mamiya 7 all have a separate viewfinder, which should be included with the lens. So if you've got the viewfinder, carry out the same exercise with the viewfinder. Just look into it, shine a light into it, and just make sure there's no mistiness. And with the bright line viewfinder, just look through, and you can see the bright silvered frame. Make sure that's all intact all the way around. Sometimes the mirroring can begin to break up, so you don't see the whole frame. In places, the frame is a little indistinct. If you see that, it's a sign that the mirroring is failing. Again, not the end of the world, but the price should reflect the fact it isn't optically perfect. So, you've checked the cosmetics, you've checked the mechanics, you've checked the optics. The last thing I'll check is the electronics. Now, with these lenses, the only electrical part is really just the shutter control, which is these little gold contacts here. Put it onto a camera, open the back, wind the camera on, and just fire it on 1 second, just to make sure you can hear the shutter opening and closing. It'll go click, click. And then change the shutter speed to a quarter of a second, an eighth of a second, and just make sure you can hear the change in the shutter tone. And finally, just set it on a 500th of a second. Again, looking through the back of the camera, look through the lens and just fire the shutter. You'll see a quick flash of light. You can't time it to a 500th of a second, but what you're confirming is that it is opening. If the shutter opens on a 500th and it opens on a second, and you can hear it changing as you change the speeds through, then you can be pretty damn sure that the shutter's working well, because the shutters in the lenses are fundamentally very, very reliable. There's a separate issue with the timing on the cameras. The cameras can have a timing issue, but that does relate to the camera, not the shutter. So you've checked the electronics, you've checked the electronic shutter is open, or timing on the shutter is opening and closing. You've checked it's in good mechanical condition, you've checked the optics are clean, and you've checked it's cosmetically clean. Once you've gone through those 4 checks and you're happy, you can be confident you've got a really decent lens. So I hope you found that useful. If you have any comments, please drop them in the box below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.